boogity, boogity, get up on your feet.
Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of the DW Show. Yes sir, it's another week and another show and another race. I tell you, I had to get home from New Hampshire and recover from all the lobster. I ate a lot of lobster while I was in New Hampshire. And I played a little golf and did a little TV and watched some pretty good racing. And I want to say right up front, congratulations to Ryan Newman. What an incredible weekend. He wins the modified race on Friday from the pole. And of course, as you know, he won the cup race on Saturday from the pole. That doesn't happen very often. Matter of fact, the last race that Newman won from the pole, and he has 47 by the way, was Pocono in 2003. So he's won a lot of poles, but hadn't won a lot of races from the pole. So congratulations to him and Tony Stewart, a good 1-2 finish. And that's a great way to think about going back to Loudon because, as you know, New Hampshire will be the second race in the chase. So if you make the chase, you're in the chase, that's a great bit of preparation for that second race when we go back there. And a lot of things happened over the weekend. As you know, Kyle Busch won his 100th NASCAR race. Now, that pains a lot of people to say that he has won 100 races and that he's closing in on David Pearson's 105 NASCAR wins or even Richard Petty's 200 wins. And I've kind of been there all along. I've kind of been there with you. He's got 22 Cup wins. And basically in my career, that's what we've always looked at. How many wins you have in Nationwide, how many wins you got in Truck, how many wins you got in Cup. And Cup being the premier series, that's the one that we all kind of counted. But I got to looking at some numbers. Let me share this with you. In Richard Petty's career, he made 1,185 starts. And of course, as we know, he won 200 races. Now, a lot of those races that Richard won were half-mile dirt tracks, Hickory, North Carolina, a lot of little racetracks. And a lot of them were just 100-lappers, 100-milers. They weren't the kind of races that we see today. So, and this is where the rub comes, because in no way am I trying to diminish the 200 wins that Richard has. Different time, different era, different schedule. They ran 60 races back in the day. And so Richard could race 4 or 5 nights a week. What does Kyle Busch do? Some weekends he races 3 nights a week. So in Richard Petty's career, 1,185 starts. In Kyle Busch's career, he's 26 years old, he already has 550 total starts. So he's the only guy out there. Jeff Gordon's not doing it. Jimmy Johnson's not doing it. I didn't do it. Dale didn't do it. Kyle Busch is the only guy out there that is running enough races every week to even approach getting close to what Richard Petty did. 200 wins, and Kyle now has 100 at 26 years old. So it's not necessarily new math, but it's a new era. And Kyle is giving himself an opportunity to win all these races because he's running all these other races. And so my point is, if the competition that Richard Petty had back in the day was maybe not stellar every week, and some of the tracks that he went to were little racetracks, little half-milers or whatever, then the Truck wins, the Nationwide wins, and certainly the Cup wins could all be lumped together, and they would be very comparable to what Richard Petty did back in the day. The quality of the competition, to my knowledge, Kyle Busch has not won a race by 7 laps. Kyle Busch has not won any races by a lap that I can remember. And back in the day, Richard Petty had races that he won by a number of laps, multiple laps over the competition. So the quality of a competition today in all 3 series would be a lot greater than the quality of the competition back in the day when Richard won his 200. I'm just saying, look, it pains me. I got 98 if you look at the 84 and the 13 and the 97 that I have. And Dale's the same. I think Dale and I are tied. But nonetheless, great accomplishment. 100 wins, 100 wins. I don't care what, I don't care how you do the math. It's new math, and that's the way they do it. And congratulations to Kyle. Interesting race, I thought. These races have changed so dramatically. It all comes down to strategy now. And a lot of it has to do with fuel mileage, as you see here. We feel, I don't like fuel mileage race. Listen, here's what's happening. You know, just like Ryan Newman and Tony Stewart pitted at the same time Jeff Gordon did. I think at 217 laps, I believe they both pitted together. Tony Stewart made it on fuel. Jeff Gordon didn't. Here's what happens in this with this new fueling system. And of course we have ethanol fuel. Here, with this new fueling system, getting the car full of fuel is the issue. And you come down and you take 2 tires, you're going to be hard pressed to get that car full of fuel. If you take 4 tires, you're almost going to have to hold the car for a second while they finish filling it up with fuel. So a lot of these crew chiefs are, you go on the driver goes on the jack, so when the jack drops, he goes, and they're not getting the car totally full. And that's where some of these discrepancies in fuel mileage comes from. That's why some make it and some don't. But this new fueling system is the culprit. If you get that thing packed full of fuel, you can do what Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman did. You can go a long way. But if you happen to miss it by a gallon or so, then you're going to run out like Jeff Gordon and some others did on Sunday. So great race, a lot of strategy. Again, 1-2 finish by Stuart Haas. First time that's happened. Now, Ryan and Tony had finished first and second before I think it was at Loudon, as a matter of fact. Ryan was driving for Penske. Tony was driving for Joe Gibbs. And oh, speaking of Joe Gibbs, hot rumor. Hot rumor. Could be fact, could be fiction, partly truth, I don't know. Carl Edwards just may very well, possibly, definitely, maybe, a definite maybe, there you go, going to Gibbs. Makes sense. And there's some things that are going on. You know, it's kind of interesting to me that Gibbs, that is a great organization. The coach and JD, I mean, they run a tight ship. They run a great team, a great organization. But boy, there've been a lot of rumors about those guys lately. You know, Logano's out. Greg Zipadelli's going to Stuart Haas. Logano's still going to be there, but we don't know in what capacity. Going to shut down the engine room. Let me shed a little light on all those just for you real quickly. It makes a lot of sense that Carl would go to Gibbs for Home Depot. Who's won 5 championships? The Lowe's car. Who hadn't won any championships as Tony left? The Home Depot car. So I'm sure there's a rivalry there. These sponsors, they're just as competitive as the drivers are. So I'm thinking Home Depot is saying to Coach Gibbs, look, you told us that Joey Logano was the next best thing. He was the greatest, the sliced bread, the greatest thing since, and it hadn't turned out that way. He's got 1 win, and that was a rain-shortened race at Loudon. And so we need to do something, and we need to do it now. Here's Carl Edwards, probably the hottest commodity that's been in the sport in a long time. Great personality, great driver, good with the sponsors, good with the fans. Bring him to Gibbs, put him in a Home Depot car. Zipadelli says, hey, okay, you know me, I got whoop, 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 helicopters. Greg Zipadelli probably said, either I go or Logano goes, but something's got to give here. So if they bring Carl in, I think Greg might stay, and they would make a great team. And the engine thing I want to just hit on real quickly. If you think about Childress and Earnhardt, they started ECR engines. They kind of created a company where they built engines for a lot of teams. It seems to me it's kind of redundant what Gibbs does. They build all their own engines while you got Toyota TRD over here building the same engine. Sounds to me like they may want to incorporate all those guys together, take the best of the best of the best, put them under one roof, and create an engine company that builds just Toyota engines. That's what I'm thinking. If you're going to be, I'm not thinking that Gibbs is going to necessarily close down his engine company. I think he's just going to maybe emerge with the TRD people, and instead of one doing it, they're both doing the same thing. It'd be a lot more economical if they worked together and built engines together. And I think that's what might be going on there. So that's all I know about that. Great weekend of racing. Got a weekend off. I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm not going to do a whole heck of a lot. I think I'm going to kick back, and I'm going to work on my tan. I'm going to try. You know, Hammond, you know, he's always working on his tan. Hey, how can a man be tan in the wintertime? Oh, you know, because of that tanning booth thing. I'm going to work on my tan. I'm going to hang out with my girls. I'm going to grill some steaks. Going to listen to some music on the radio, a little country music. I'm just going to enjoy myself. Have a nice weekend. See you next week.